game, which is now long forgotten as this game is get underway by Ian Hardman. Saltonstall underneath it, and Halifax already being pressured and pushed back towards the try line. Tackle made eventually on Will Maher, who very rarely gets pushed backwards. Well, they were practicing the wrestling tactics in the tackle were Featherstone in the warm-up, and in the third tackle Halifax are still in their own quarter of the field, and this is similar to what Featherstone did to Halifax in the opening game of the season when they won 20 points to 4. They blitzed Halifax in the first 20 minutes. Halifax will have to guard against that this afternoon as they finally get over the 20 line. Griggs gets it to Johnson, Johnson to Will Maher, and a look to be a swinging arm there from Gareth Hawk, but he's got away with it. It's the last tackle. Morrell will be put under pressure, only gets a poor kick away. Referee making sure, and Chester Butler might have got better at that. I think it was Robinson who went inside, didn't look comfortable trying to take the ball, and did in fact I think touch it, but Chester Butler made the tackle. Now Halifax have to defend against this run from Luke Briscoe. Back to halfway. Briscoe trying to claim the penalty. Talapapa trying to spin through the tackle. Will Maher, Shane Grady, Adam Tangata and Ben Kay there as well. Scott Wheeldon, former Hull KR player, driving towards the 20. It's the last tackle. Back to Thackeray for the kick to test Woodburn Hall, who's sweeping up at the back. And already the complaints coming from the Halifax supporters on the hostility that Featherstone is showing. Will Sharp driving it out into Cooper and Davis, but waiting strong in the tackle to push the man back. Saltonstall looked to offload then, but a little bit risky. Ben Kay gets it away to Shane Grady, hit the ball running. Featherstone defence there. Halifax yet to get out of their own half with the ball. This time Morrell has a little bit more time to get his kick away, and it's towards Hardman, who lets it bounce and bounce. Eventually it's safe to pick up for Hardman. He returns it 10 metres on the kick, and Briscoe's in at acting half, and loitering ominously around the play. The ball is Luke Briscoe, looking to add to his 28 tries for the season. Jason Walton charging the ball up. Salford and Batley amongst his former clubs. Jason Walton pushing forward. Wilde gets the ball away. Featherstone back in the Halifax half on the last tackle, so look for Thackeray for another kick to test the Halifax defence. That one dropping. Well, Halifax wrestling to keep Woodburn all in play, but Jack Ormondroyd, Luke Cooper and Jason Walton, or Kieran Moss rather, I think it was, Woodburn all has pass bucket, pushed back over the Halifax line, and so it'll be a drop out under the post, and Halifax so far weathering the storm of this early Featherstone pressure. Tyler gets plenty of height, but not a lot of distance. There's a bit of hesitation. Robinson is left to take it by Thackeray, but a massive hit by Chester Butler on Sean Robinson. Cooper takes it up. Halifax have bodies around the ball carrier. 5 at one point there. Carlisle gets it away. That's a good tackle, but Featherstone have released Briscoe on that far side, and Briscoe a hard man to stop, but Halifax manage it this time. That defence looking a little fragile on the left hand side as Briscoe edges forward probably 3 metres to gain an advantage on playing the ball then. Cooper gets the ball away. Wildy took a big hit from Tangata in the tackle. Carlisle to Thackeray. Thackeray to Ormondroyd. Big fella is Ormondroyd. He's on loan from Leeds and was for most of last season. He was a Featherstone player before signing for Leeds, although he spent most of his career seemingly at Featherstone. That's into the in-goal area, and Saltonstall manages to get to it, but looks like another drop out under the post. Saltonstall go falling awkwardly there, and the ball didn't go out of play. Davis almost pounced on it. And Halifax having to withstand a serious amount of pressure in these opening minutes. Just over 6 minutes gone. It's Johnson that requires attention, not Saltonstall. Halifax having to weather this early onslaught from the Featherstone side. That one over the head gives Halifax a little incentive to get up quicker to kill Carlisle, who offloads the pass to Wheeldon. And Wheeldon is dumped to the ground. Good effort from Ben Kay and Tangata, stopping Wheeldon right away. Cooper, well, to shouts a forward pass, ignored by the officials. And Gareth Hock has done just about everything in rugby league as Gareth Hock. Fiery reputation. Davis around the outside, and Featherstone attacking again in the Halifax half. Wilde gets it to Thackeray. Thackeray a short ball to Ormondroyd, but Ormondroyd all wrapped up by 3-4 Halifax defenders just inside the 20. They look for Thackeray for the kick over the top again. Who's going for it this time? It comes down to Tyra, who knocks it back and collects his own kick as it bounced back towards him. Well, referee not looking at 10 metres. Oh, well, he's allowing Featherstone to stand fully 2 metres in front of him. Well, he's doing it again. He's not even taking any notice. And finally, he decided that Luke Cooper's offside, much to the joy of the Halifax supporters. Well, it came a tackle too late for the Halifax fans there. And for the first time, with 7 minutes gone, Halifax will go into the Featherstone half with ball in hand. Griggs to Tangata. And Hawk again looking high in the tackle, but getting away with it. Will Marr runs at the same defenders. Morell. Oh, great ball. Chester Butler looking for support. Griggs gets it away, and Will Sharp in at the corner. Halifax's first attack after 8 minutes, seeming like they were never going to get out of their own half. And some slick passing across the line puts Will Sharp in at the corner for Halifax for the opening score of the afternoon, and sending the Featherstone supporters into silence. And Will Sharp, a former favourite of this Featherstone side, scores against his old club with an acrobatic dive into the corner. And Halifax, with the first attack of the game, the first foray into the Featherstone half of the field, come away with 4 points. They were attacking that Featherstone right-hand defence and then swung the ball out wide. It was Griggs that supplied the final pass to Will Sharp, who squeezed in at the corner. Halifax 4, Featherstone 0. And a credit to Halifax after absorbing all that pressure. Will Sharp's 5th try of the season sends Halifax fans into raptures. On about 9 minutes, and Tyra with a kick. Oh, cool as you like. I think Tyra knew that was going over as soon as it left the boot from the touchline. Halifax 6, Featherstone 0. Featherstone with the suns in their eyes in the first half. Well, the sun in their eyes and the Halifax attack in the face. Big style there, bringing a sweeping move to an end, Will Sharp. Saltonstall underneath the kick-off. Returns it 10 metres. Adam Tangata making the Rovers defence work. There's no pushing Tangata back. As Griggs goes again, attracts 3 defenders to him. They put him down on the 40 metre line. Morrell to Chester Butler, and Butler almost spinning out of Carlisle's tackle then. Carlisle looked as though he was having a second go. Will Marr will drive it up, and Gareth Hock up around the chest of Will Marr. Last tackle. Morrell will test Ian Hardman, shielding himself with the sun in his eyes. Manages to do well, catch the ball, keep it in the field of play. Robinson will eliminate the danger of Featherstone being taken back over the line with the ball as he takes it on a further 10 metres. Talapapa gets over the 20 on the third tackle. Thackeray moves into acting half, and Briscoe's drifted a long way across the field to try and make some metres, but very little made as Briscoe thrashing about trying to claim the penalty, and Halifax are adjudged to be offside by the referee. So Thackeray to kick for touch, puts the ball in around 25 metres out from the Halifax line, and Walton will take the first drive, but Woodburn Hall makes the tackle. Walton allowed to offload in the tackle. Scott Wheeldon will take it up to the 10. Halifax alert to the offload and taking the man with the ball. Gareth Hock will drive it forward, tackled by Griggs. Well, them two's paths will have crossed several times in the Super League days. Wildy almost going over. Luke Cooper on the crash short ball and held up by the Halifax defence. Heroic defence in the in-goal area from Ben Kay. So the ball will go back to the 10 metre line. Thackeray looking for runners, gets the dummy away. Doesn't fool the Halifax defence though. Almondroyd put down 5 metres out and knocked on as well. Well, that's a real bonus for Halifax. Almondroyd knocking on us once again. Halifax defence answers all the Featherstone questions. And they threw Hock and Walton all at full speed, and Cooper, none of which were able to break down the Halifax defence, which has performed heroically in the first 13 minutes. Now Halifax look for a way to get out of their own quarter again. Will Sharp on the Halifax 10 metre line. Kieran Moss doesn't get a lot of time to move there before the Featherstone defence bring him down. Ben Johnson to Shane Grady over the 20 metre line, but both teams restricted and going forward the way the defence is moving up. Grady throws the dummy. Halifax have made the 40. Tom Grant is signalling that this is the last tackle. Morrell is inside the 40. His kick is across towards Briscoe. And Featherstone fans will be expecting a lot of Briscoe, but not getting much this occasion. Quick play the ball. Thackeray allowed to run. Gets the offload away to Robinson, and Robinson gets hammered to the ground by Tangata and Griggs. Five metres from halfway on the Featherstone half of the field. Talapapa into Tangata. Talapapa allowed to offload, and Thackeray's seen a bit of a gap. Hardman thought it was away. but Tangata recovered to make a second tackle in succession. Another shout for a forward pass, waved away by the officials. Kieran Moss, almost pirouetting on the ground there, but unable to get away from Walton. Halifax struggling to get numbers back. Will Sharp will run it up to the defence. Shane Grady looks to be in a bit of trouble on the far side, with Saltonstall backing himself into the defenders as he goes into the tackle. Gets over the 20, quick play the ball, gets to Griggs, and Griggs almost over the top of the hooker Carlisle there, as Halifax move it across to the other side of the field, and Ben Johnson disappears under 3 defenders. Halifax 5 metres away from the halfway line. Referee Tom Grant with his hand in the air again for the last tackle. Morell just looking for space down that far side and gets the touch line 18 metres out from the Featherstone line. Ian Harden quite happy to leave it to run out of play. And a change already for Featherstone as Jack Ormond-Ride leaves the field. Josh Hardcastle comes on. I think the only thing possibly hurt about Ormond-Ride is his pride after knocking on 5 metres out from the Halifax line in Featherstone's last visit to the Halifax 20. Halifax will be looking to keep Featherstone in their own half of the field this time, but Hardcastle straight into the action. Hardcastle, tough runner. Featherstone Lions top try scorer with 15 in 2017. Walton escaping the clutches for a second run at the Halifax defence, which is ended by Will Marr. Thackeray moves it out to Hock, limited in attack. Walton looks like he's gone into the second run. Hardcastle's dropped to centre. He gets the pass now off Thackeray, and Hardcastle stopped just outside the Halifax 20. He'll go to Thackeray for the kick because it's the last tackle again. Thackeray trying to put one in front of the post. Kieran Moss takes it well, gets clattered by Cooper, loses the ball, but fortunately for Halifax it's gone into the in-goal area where Saltonstall has managed to touch it down. I think it's Saltonstall or Tyra who comes up with it. Well, that's a big hit by Cooper. Thackeray's kick more menacing than creative, with Cooper absolutely flattening Kieran Moss there. But Simon Griggs is currently receiving attention. Halifax leading 6 points to 0. Just over midway through the first half. Water carriers are on, as there will be plenty of times throughout this game, I've no doubt. Absolutely balmy temperatures. Tyra's kick has gone short. Halifax might come up with it, and Will Sharp has just knocked on, unfortunately. Well, if he'd have got the ball then, who knows what might have happened. Came off the wrong part of the foot for Steve Tyra, and seemed to be spiralling out towards the touchline, maybe on the full, but Will Sharp rose up to try and get it and just couldn't keep a grip on it, so it's given Featherstone the advantage again, with Wildy out to Davis, and Davis running at the Halifax defence, who are once again put to work. Well, they hold a 6 points to 0 lead, but you wouldn't believe it, the amount of time that Featherstone have spent in the Halifax half of the field. And the referee has decided with a penalty against Simon Griggs. Not moving away, so back-to-back sets for Featherstone. Scott Wheeldon stops to the sound of the referee's whistle. And Gareth Hock it is that charges into Wilmar Thackeray to Hardcastle, who looks for a way through, edging his way towards the line, but Halifax get him on his back about 1.5 meters away. Thackeray looking for runners again, gets the pass out to Wilde. Talapapa will cut inside the Halifax defence off the pass from Hardman. Well, I suppose it had to happen eventually with the amount of pressure and possession that Featherstone have had in the Halifax quarter of the field. Halifax caught for numbers, and the sliding defence moving across couldn't accommodate for Talapapa's step back on the inside to cut inside two Halifax defenders to score Featherstone's first try. And it's Halifax 6, Featherstone 4. Well, it's if you look at the amount of possession that Featherstone have had, not only in the Halifax half of the field but also in the 20 metres in the red zone. It was going to come eventually. Halifax gave away a penalty which gave Featherstone back-to-back sets, which allowed them to set up again, knowing they had a few extra tackles. Hardman is not going to miss from there as he puts over his 56th goal of the season. Hardman levels the scores, and it's Halifax who are stunned into silence now as the Rovers supporters find their voice. On a break midway through the first half for Water onto the field. Gareth Hock looked as though he's perhaps receiving medical attention there, but the medics left the field. Halifax players having an inquest on the 40-metre line. Dan Fleming has come onto the field for Halifax. Looks like he's replaced Adam Tangata. And as last week, Halifax captain Scott Morrell wants to get on with the game and not take any longer than is needed as he goes to the centre spot to restart after that Featherstone try. Well, Gareth Hockey is now receiving or was receiving attention to that left knee. So it's a painkilling injection or what, but it's heavily strapped as Morrell kicks. Hardman waits underneath. Well, I suppose it's a testament to people like Ian Hardman and Scott Morrell, the fitness of the players now that they have careers elongated a little bit. Simon Griggs as well, looking for another season next year, and eventually Talapapa's stopped, but Halifax need to react quickly to Robinson running, and Halifax penalised for offside for a third Featherstone penalty. Thackeray, formerly with Halifax, puts the ball into touch, and Halifax line will be under pressure and under assault again as Hardcastle takes the first run. And temperatures like these, the longer you have the ball in hand, the better it is for you, because defending is really strength sapping in these temperatures. Gareth Hock will try and test the Halifax defence again, and Hock loses the ball, possibly intentionally, and Featherstone are given a fourth penalty, which Hardman has already stepped up to try and convert. Well, it looked for all the world as though Gareth Hock had lost that ball. As suppose it was always going to be in his favour because there were 5 Halifax defenders around him. The referee would never have had a 100% clear view of what happened, but he's gone in favour of Featherstone and Gareth Hock and awarded a 4th penalty to Halifax as one, as Jacob Fairbanks prepares to replace Simon Griggs. And Hardman strokes over the penalty, which puts Featherstone into the lead for the first time. Halifax 6, Featherstone 8. And I suppose the old adage in the games like these, always come away with points. Proven there that John Duffy knows that every point could be in the pot this afternoon, and there was no hesitation in that position for Hardman to convert. It's never going to be that difficult for him. Wheeldon charging forward, returns it to the 10-metre line. 17.5 minutes left of this first half. Halifax surrender the lead for the first time. Briscoe not able to get through. Fleming. Briscoe gets up and plays the ball. What are they going to say there? They're going to say it's a knock on against Luke Briscoe. Well, Briscoe was entangled with Chester Butler there, and Butler moved out of the way, and when Briscoe got up the ball was on the floor, and the referee is just, I think, explaining to the Featherstone players that Luke Briscoe should have kept hold of that ball. He was carrying it, finished up on the floor, so it's a knock on. So Tom Grant will stop the clock. And it looks rather more like Featherstone are able to call on the water carriers of the medical staff, perhaps to give themselves time to set up for this attack, as Johnson gets it away to Kieran Moss, and Kieran Moss finished off by Wildy after Davis had made the tackle. Johnson goes down the short side. Tyra brings it inside of Grady's pass. Halifax edging closer towards that Featherstone line, knowing that the last time they were this close they came away with a try. Can they do the same again? Well, the Featherstone defence has spread. Halifax are coming the same way with the ball. Morrell gets it away to Kieran Moss, and Moss is only stopped by a grab of the shirt from Jason Walton, and they come this way again. Long ball over the top. Sharp's in for a second. Exactly the same move. With a long pass supplied by Scott Morrell. Well, Halifax are not rattled by any means by the amount of time that Featherstone are spending in the Halifax half of the field, because they've done exactly the same again. They've gone back up to the Featherstone red zone, and this time it's Scott Morrell who provides the long pass, and it was also almost an identical replay of Will Sharp's first try, diving in at the corner. Halifax back in the lead at the slenderest of leads. Halifax 10, Featherstone Rovers 8. Well, a second try for Will Sharp, and Richard Marshall has obviously seen the defensive frailties. Maybe Sean Robinson just steps inside a little bit too far. A lot of teams this season drawing the wingers in a little bit so they can move out quickly into the line if they needed. James Saltonstall done it a lot this season, and Sean Robinson wasn't at home when the long pass came from Morrell to Will Sharp. Well, the sun coming out, and it's absolutely baking hot day, and Tyra, well, it was close. It's pulled across the face of the goal. back in the lead with less than 15 minutes to go in the first half. Well, if Halifax had the same amount of time and possession in the Featherstone red zone as Featherstone have had in the Halifax red zone, they probably would have been 20 points or more up by now, because they've come away from the opposition end with ball coming off Saltonstall. It came off his face. Referee says play on. Saltonstall obviously not expecting that. Well, I hope Tom Grant never comes and measures carpets in my house, because he's not sure what 10 metres is, looking at that defensive line. Shane Grady almost breaking through the defence there. .40-metre line, that'll be a penalty for a high tackle from Davey on Will Sharp. And Morell's kick puts Halifax in a promising position again, 25 metres away from the Featherstone try line. And Halifax would have been quick to get the ball into play then, had Tom Grant not stopped it till the second ball was off the field. And Steve Tyra takes the first drive, struggling to get away from Wildy's tackle. Johnson trying to duck under defenders. Wilmar, and here we go again down to this right hand side, but Kieran Moss caught again, and I think Will Sharp was screaming for the pass again there. Time they go to the left. Wilmar up to the defensive line. It takes 3 defenders to stop him. One of those is Gareth Hock. John Davis there as well. Short ball to Fleming, and Fleming pushing for all his might to get over that Featherstone line, but pushed back by 3 defenders. Kick through, and picked up quite easily, or popped up into the arms of Scott Wheeldon. And now it's Featherstone's turn to shout for offside. Well, if he's playing it both ways, I suppose it's same for both sides, so he can't really complain. But a bulk change of personnel for Featherstone. And another forward-looking pass as Davies goes across the defence, but he's absolutely flattened by Ben Kay. Kay will go again as Featherstone up for a kick downfield. Kieran Moss looks up and sees 4, 5, 6 shirts advancing towards him. Gets the ball away to Ben Johnson. Jensen throws the dummy, and tackled by Brad Knowles, who's just on the field, along with Brad Dwyer, who was just a little bit offside there. Dwyer scoring 6 tries on loan from Leeds. Well, the referee put the whistle to his mouth then, decided not to blow. Featherstone becoming a little frustrated. They're very slow getting away from the ball after the tackle's made. Dan Fleming put down 8 metres inside the Featherstone half. Johnson gets it to Moss, and Moss gets a great ball to Tyra. Tyra sets off, beat the first tackler. Last tackle, Sharp's with the hand in the air calling for it. Johnson running down that short side, and the chance here, Saltonstall gets it inside to Ben Johnson, and that is a remarkable try, because Ben Johnson looked to be kicking for the safety of the touchline. Somehow James Saltonstall got to it and lobbed the ball back inside. Johnson didn't seem to be there, but he got to it eventually and charged into the in-goal area to put the ball down to stretch the Halifax lead to Halifax 14, Featherstone Rovers 8. Well, it looked like Johnson was just kicking for the safety and putting the ball out into touch. Great play from Saltonstall. So there was an opportunity, and turn that opportunity into another 4 points with supplying, well, an unorthodox lobbed pass inside, which Johnson latched onto. I suppose a good job. Ben Johnson kept running, but he took the ball and took it in 10 metres out from the left hand upright. And if Steve Tyra can kick this one, we'll give Halifax an 8-point lead. Not unassailable by any means, but it means Featherstone have to score twice. There's 9.5 minutes left in the first half. No problems this time for Steve Tyra. Second goal of the afternoon, added to the try from Johnson. The third of the afternoon, with 2 from Sharp and 1 from the scrum half, Ben Johnson, who is on 12th for the season now, just 1 behind Steve Tyra. Hardman kicks. Shout from Fleming, even though Saltonstall came in for it, and Fleming has done well to return it 12 metres. Fairbank gets to the 20, 3 defenders round him, but Jacob Fairbank's still pushing forward. Wilmar. Well, Halifax are not being pushed back just as easy now by the Featherstone defence as they were in the opening 10 minutes. They're moving up very quickly on this side, does, and play the ball takes place, and Chester Butler is put to ground by 3 Featherstone defenders. Again, they're slow to get up, and Hardcastle, well, I thought he was going to penalise Hardcastle then for trying to rip the ball out, but he's said not standing square at the play of the ball. So another opportunity for Halifax in the Featherstone half of the field as Barber comes on for Wilmar. And Chester Butler heads off towards that Featherstone line. Fairbank to Fleming. Fleming holding players off, trying to hold them off long enough to get the pass away, but put down 22 metres out. Trying that left hand side again with Tyra running strongly, but a good tackle by Davis around the ankles of the Halifax centre. Brings him down inside the 20. Brandon Moore's on for Halifax, gets it away to Morell. Morell skipped the first defence, gets it away to Kieran Moss, but Kieran Moss having a difficult afternoon, shrugging off these Featherstone defenders when he gets the ball. Morell kicks. Robinson under pressure. Halifax will try and take him back into the in-goal area. Well, they've not been able to, but they're as close as you can get. Hardman. I don't think John Duffy would want Ian Hardman as the man to try and run the ball out. Sam Brooks gets driven back towards the line by Ed Barber, the Featherstone line that is. Briscoe into Fairbank and Fleming still driving the legs, and finally going down when Barber added his weight to the tackle. Well, there was a knock on at the play of the ball by Briscoe, but Halifax this time are judged to have been offside. 5 penalties to 3, 6.5 minutes just under remaining of the first half, and Halifax lead Featherstone 16 points to 8. And once again Tom Grant holding up play while the second ball is off the field, but attention needed for Brad Dwyer. It looks like the Odlo Leeds player will be getting some running repairs. Bandage out from the medic. Well, Halifax players want him to leave the field. I would leave him there, because as long as he's there, Halifax are able to take on board some water, taking some deep breaths, and hopefully for the coaching staff and fans be able to keep Featherstone out again. The same token, it's Featherstone are being afforded the same luxury, and eventually, with Dwyer tended to, runs at the defence, gets the ball away to Walton. Walton uses Dwyer as a shield to keep him away from 3 men, and Hardcastle spins out of the tackle. Halifax put him down just inside the 20. Well, Dwyer needs to be watched. After those 6 tries last week, Thackeray has opted for a run at the Halifax defence. Doesn't have the strength to get through. Here goes Dwyer again, gets it to Wilde. Wilde runs out of options and he's caught and driven away from the Halifax line and back out of the red zone by Barber and Fairbank. Wilde, well, throwing punches at Barber. Barber not reacting. Here goes Dwyer again. And Dwyer tries to release the ball and does to Thackeray. Thackeray gets it back to Hardman. Options on the far side. Davis brings it back inside. Halifax defence looking a bit tired. Eventually Davis is caught by Woodburn Hall and Chester Butler. Last tackle for Halifax to hold out. Dwyer might go on his own here. A little chip through. Could be problems. And somehow Ben Johnson was in the right place for the second time in the last 10 minutes to put the ball out of play. Looked as though Featherstone might have got a hand on it. Well, Halifax have got less than 5 minutes to last until half time, clinging on to this 16.8 lead. I would say clinging, with Featherstone again able to mount attacks towards the Halifax line. Kick from Tyra. Ormonroyd back on. Stopped by Woodburn Hall and Butler. Dan Fleming thinking about whether to join him, but not required. Knowles spun to the floor by Fairbank. Dwyer goes again. Well, he got tackled but managed to get the offload away. Back comes Davis. Thackeray shows the ball, brings Walton on the inside, gets it to Hardcastle, and Hardcastle needs putting down, and Barber tackles him. Well, low in numbers this side, so Thackeray goes to the opposite side of the field, gets it away to Hardman. Halifax looking to close down the defence, and there's a knock on from Featherstone. Hardman getting a little bit upset with Saltonstall there. Featherstone starting to lose their cool a little bit there. Well, they had options. Halifax were holding off again. Once again, Davis was allowed to bring it inside, and Hardman went back outside. The ball got knocked down on its way to Luke Briscoe. And cheers from the Halifax fans again as they hang on to the 16 points to 8 lead. The referee waves play on with the Featherstone defenders. There's going to be no surprise that the frustrations are going to boil over, because the players are 10 metres apart of the play of the ball. Well, this time they appear to be, but not for long, as Fleming takes it on the 40 metre line. Progress limited by this Featherstone defence. Johnson out to Grady. Grady turns back inside and looks at the offload, but Talapapa puts him down before he can get away. Last tackle, back to Morell. Morell will go for the touch line this time and make sure the ball goes out in the Featherstone red zone. It went out about 8 metres away from the line, but the scrum will go down 10 metres out and 10 metres in. Or 20 metres in rather from the touch line, 10 metres out from the try line. And Featherstone are the ones who are rushing to get the clock stopped by putting the 6 men in the scrum. And 2 minutes and 8 seconds on the clock. Featherstone, 90 metres to go with the ball to score before half time. Go to the short side, but Halifax not falling for the blindside play. Tied up with a tackle. Talapapa will charge it up, but not get too far as Halifax swamp around him and put him down on the 20-metre line. Briscoe still looking for a way through. Fairbanks stopped him. Butler finished him off, and Briscoe, another knock on from the Featherstone winger, and Halifax put the 6 men down with 1 minute 30. Another score for Halifax here. If they can conjure one up in a minute and a half with 6 tackles, plenty of opportunities. Well, marked up in even numbers on either side. Morrell to feed the scrum. Brandon Moore's moved into loose forward, and it looks like it will go to Ben Johnson unless Halifax try the short side play their own. Brandon Moore to Johnson. Kieran Moss. Again, Kieran Moss is bundled to the ground by the Rovers defence. Johnson stepping. Johnson still stepping. Featherstone defence eventually closing him down. Dwyer and Knowles. Grady. Minute left on the clock. Morrell loses it, but it's gone backwards to Fairbanks, and Fairbanks, with 3 players around him, has to surrender into the tackle. Morrell kicks to the corner. Sharp's off again. Will Sharp is off again, and the ball goes out of play. Well, there's probably a claim there from the Halifax players that Robinson took that, but they're a long way away to see that. So 30 seconds on the clock. It's Robinson that will bring it back. And Featherstone supporters time to claim the offside. Walton leaded somebody in support there, and there was nobody accepting the invitation when he put the ball out. Held the arm out for the ball. Talapapa put down just over halfway. Short ball from Briscoe. Well, Briscoe safe hands this time. Hooter sounds, and Halifax will breathe a sigh of relief as the hooter sounds, and well, a half-time flourish of punches have just about summed up everything that this first half has had. Excitement, flowing rugby, tough tackling, some tremendous scores, and at the end of it, Halifax with Will Sharp claiming 2 tries and Ben Johnson claiming 1. Talapapa, just the 1 try for Featherstone. Harmon with a conversion, a penalty. Will Sharp has put 2 conversions over for Halifax, and Halifax leave the field at half time to a standing ovation from the Halifax faithful in the East Stand. Morrell gets the second half underway. Hardman stands underneath, gives it inside to Ormond Royd, and Ormond Royd is stopped in his tracks by Chester Butler and Shane Grady. Talapapa was like an extra second row forward. It's caught 25 metres out from the Featherstone line, and Featherstone making more metres in the opening set of this second half. Ball is offloaded, and Talapapa almost put it down, and then sets off towards Halifax line for the second time in this set, and he's stopped on halfway. Brad Dwyer to Sam Brooks, also once of Halifax for a brief stint, although it seems the rugby league media seem to think he started his career here. They seem to think he came on loan from Wigan. Kieran Moss, again caught by the defence, did well to get out of the way of the first tackle. Will Sharp has put a marker down in the first 40 minutes for the man of the match with his acrobatic skills. Saltonstall gets through the first one, and almost through the second, and Halifax get a penalty. Quick play the ball, catching the Featherstone defence. An immediate piggyback penalty to take Halifax into the Featherstone half by a metre. Dan Fleming was given the ball by Johnson. Not much impact from virtually a standing start. Brandon Moore gets it away to Fairbank, and Fairbank takes it over the 40. Stopped by Ormond Royd and Brooks, who gives a bit of a facial out, and Grady trying to wrestle through the two defenders. Talapapa having to be dragged off by Dwyer. Johnson gives it to Dan Fleming from a standing start again. A few moans and groans from the Halifax supporters in the East Stand as Johnson does it again, this time for Tyra. Saltonstall gets to it again, but well, it went forward anyway. Saltonstall making a lot of metres again for Halifax. Almost broke away just prior to that penalty being awarded by the referee Tom Grant. But it's a Featherstone scrum. 10 metres out from the Rovers line. Wilder will feed the scrum. Hardcastle. The Halifax supporters will be making some noise. Talking with the coaching staff before the game, it said it really does make a difference. The roar of those Halifax supporters, both in the south and the east stand. And Featherstone managing to sell 1,000 tickets for this afternoon's game and swell the gates numbers and the gate receipts as Dwyer goes on a run over halfway. Ormond Royd loses possession. Referee will say play on until Featherstone get the ball back, and Ben Johnson and Jack Ormond Royd are going at it. Well, a mismatch there. Well, eventually they dragged apart, but I think Ormond Royd was the instigator in that, but whether he sees it for Johnson retaliating, I'm not sure. Well, it's a sign of frustration from Featherstone that was boiling over at the end of the first half, continuing into the second. Well, it's still going on between Hardman and Fleming. Well, this is interesting. It goes back to the initial problem, that it will be Ormond Royd. Almost both say he could have picked it on Ben Johnson, but Johnson wasn't taking a backward step and stood himself up against Ormond Royd. And I think he's probably the biggest player on the certainly the tallest player on this Featherstone side, and Ben Johnson is the smallest player on the Halifax side. Well, the referee, in consultation with the touch judges, will probably saw more of the afters than they did of the initial problem. Well, he's going in the pocket. Johnson off for 10 minutes. And Ormond Royd off for 10 minutes. Well, Halifax have lost a key man in Johnston. I'm not sure the loss of Ormond Royd will affect Featherstone as much, but who will get the penalty out of it? The referee calling the captains together to try and calm things down. Featherstone getting a little bit irritated. Well, that's quite baffling. 2 men in the sin bin, and we'll restart the game with a scrum. You would expect at least a penalty either way, but to be fair, it's Halifax's scrum, which Barber feeds. Brandon Moore to Kieran Moss. Moss out to Woodburn Hall. Halifax attack with 12 men without Ben Johnson for 10 minutes. Well, Brad Dwyer came out like Linford Christie then, must have been offside. Obviously so fast the referee didn't see him, perhaps. Oh, good offload from Barber to Brandon Moore. Brandon Moore almost took a high shot off Wildy there as he gets to the 20. Barber moves into acting half. Morrell, no look pass to Grady. Looked as though he was going for Kieran Moss, who's gone into the acting half position. Morrell to Fleming, and Fleming charge. Oh, he's just got the ball away. That could be a penalty. Kieran Moss was held back as he went for the ball then. Halifax having to defend Thackeray's run on that far side, and then Robinson coming inside, gets away from Barber. Robinson thankfully is going sideways. Now he's found the gap through the Halifax defence, that get back eventually. That could have been a penalty. Now Briscoe takes it over the 40, loses possession, and Briscoe has put the ball down again for Featherstone. And Kieran Moss and Wheeldon this time exchanging pleasantries in back play. Halifax would be hard done by there, because it looked for all the world as though Kieran Moss was taken out as he went for the ball. Well, looking at Brad Dwyer in that previous set of 6, he ought to be on the Olympic sprinting team. He come out of the line that quick. Well, was he thought they'd sorted the problem of the cut to his head out in the first half, but seemingly not, as he takes a bit more out of the medical budget for Featherstone, with more strapping around the head. Halifax will be happy to see Briscoe put the ball down again. And this time Dwyer is changing shirts. I'm sure he won't have a number on. I don't think he'll have 2 shirts with Brad Dwyer's number on. Started his career with Warrington. Barber feeds a scrum. Salton stalling off the wing, taking the pass from Brandon Moore. A sense an opportunity early in the game, and looking for another one there to break away through this Featherstone defence. Will Sharp takes it over halfway. Brandon Moore down the short side, looking at options on that Featherstone left edge again. Morrell. They couldn't pass because Dwyer was again quick out of the line. Fairbank to Ed Barber, kicks over the top. Saltonstall chasing it. Hardman, oh, he's got there. Well, the try's been ruled out. Looked for all the world that Saltonstall had got there, but maybe he took the flag at the same time. It was a gentle little kick over the top from Ed Barber. And Hardman leaving it a little too long so that Saltonstall could challenge. And I think Saltonstall might have just touched the flag and the ball at the same time, which gives Rovers the scrum on their 10-metre line. Walton will run it out. Halifax defenders stand waiting. Talapapa, he was going at full speed, but he was stopped very quickly. Halifax up quickly. Quick play, Dwyer was away from acting half. Chester Butler a bit frustrated with himself there, I think, at missing, slow to get up. And Robinson again running up. Good tackle from Fleming. It needed to be, because Robinson thought he'd found a gap in the Halifax defence then. Wheeldon is a big target for the Halifax defence, and it's Fleming again. Makes the tackle, and Fleming's hurt himself there. Kick through is collected, and Kieran Moss try and take it away again. Well, Dan Fleming is running back into the defensive line, but looks to be struggling with the right arm. Will Sharp gets the pass away to Ed Barber. Ed Barber away from one, then put down. Looked like a flop from Josh Hardcastle. Looks like more offside from Featherstone. They're very close, and Saltonstall's all wrapped up. There's 3 defenders make the tackle. Fairbank will run it forward. Halifax struggling to make it feel, but they will be with the close proximity of the Rovers defence. Dan Fleming is down on the touchline. Scott Morrell put the ball down for Hardman. If it stops in the in-goal area, well, it has done. Hardman has taken the risk of picking it up, and Brady has chased the kick up well with Tyra and Tangata, who's back on for Fleming. Briscoe, can he keep hold of it this time? He's kept hold of it, but again thrashing about looking for the penalty. Robinson tries to take it forward, but only goes diagonally. Thacker gets the pass away. Hardcastle has to go on his own because there's nobody in support. Walton moves into a acting half and goes on his own up to halfway and beyond by 5 metres in a good run. Last tackle, go back to Thackeray for the kick, hoisting the kick up, and no pressure on Moss as he comes down with it, and Wildy there again under the kick. And Kieran Moss, well, they're taking a long time to get it. Well, there's no chance of Halifax making any real meat, as Talapapa was almost stood face to face with Woodburn Hall when he took the ball. Then Saltonstall tackled by Wheeldon and Knowles. Ball comes loose. Halifax get another penalty. Well, Gareth Hock got one for similar in the first half. Saltonstall wins one for Halifax in the second half. Well, the Featherstone line perhaps thinking Morrell was going to tap it quickly then, because they moved up and then they were called backwards. 12 minutes gone in the second half, still the same score as it was at half time, as Tangata takes the pass off Brandon Moore, and Davis stops him eventually. Morrell out to Kieran Moss. Moss gets the ball away, but the defence there for Featherstone, swarming in numbers. Morrell goes to the right hand side, finds Chester Butler. Halifax still 15 metres away. Morrell might go on his own, gets to Tangata. Tangata crashing over off Morrell's short ball. Well, he just turned up from nowhere, did Tangata, and I think the Featherstone defence would have been waiting for a long ball from Morrell. And Tangata in the crosshairs, the Featherstone line, crash ball, perfect pass, and Adam Tangata back on the field for 5 minutes has extended the Halifax lead. It's Halifax 20, Featherstone Rovers 8. Well, I think the more Halifax score, the more Featherstone will become frustrated. And it looks like Brad Dwyer's had enough as he leaves the field. Well, no 6 tries this week for Brad Dwyer. And Steve Tyra make the gap 14 points with this conversion. 2 from 3 in the first half. This one in front of the post. Featherstone preparing to bring Gareth Hock back on. Ormond, Royd and Johnson still in the bin, and Halifax have made the advantage with their increase even further in their favour without the scrum half Ben Johnson. Halifax edge further away from Featherstone by another 2 points. 22 points to 8, and it looks like Featherstone have gone through 8 replacements and still 25 minutes to go. And Tangata, the try scorer, well, putting Hock to work straight away with Wielden. Grady charging in, taking the ball over the 20, and Featherstone struggling to put him down, but not struggling to keep him down because they're very slow to get up off the play of the ball. Fairbank down that side again with Barber, looking at attacking that left-hand defence. Whelan comes in as a third man, and Ed Barber is still on his feet and got over halfway with 3 defenders around him. Titanic effort from Ed Barber there. Brandon Moore coming inside over to the 40. Johnson and Ormond Royd back on the field. Morrell using the touchline again, looking to keep Featherstone in their own quarter of the field. Good tactics. Keep them as far away from the try line as you can, and Halifax have done that, to be fair, for this opening minutes of the second half. Hardman almost looked like a high tackle from Shane Grady then, but play continuing. Robinson not being given any room this time. Shaw Robinson. Briscoe gets the offload away to Talapapa, looking for a different direction. Brandon Moore rags and scrags Talapapa to the ground. Talapapa has a good look at him and a few words, no doubt. And Halifax once again piling in on the tackle, causing the error. Another massive effort in defence, and it's Gareth Hock who gets up with the red face this time for Featherstone. Scott Morrell keeping his troops out of trouble. Talapapa came out of the collection of Halifax bodies there. Simon Grits will come back on for Ed Barber. And Scott Morrell has pushed Featherstone back to defending on their own 10-metre line. Tyra's going for the quick play, he's not hanging about, he carries it up 11 metres. Brandon Moore to Ben Johnson. Fairbank to Griggs. Looked a risky pass, but Griggs took it. The defence was close. Tangata gets it to Fairbanks. Fairbanks offload to Johnson. Johnson, if he could have got it away then. Halifax had Tyra and Saltonstall stood outside with nobody opposing them. Well, they're coming this way again with Moss. Kieran Moss is getting a facial off Davis. Brandon Moore to Johnson, kick through. Hardman picks it up, but Hardman is then tackled. Johnson still down on the floor. There was a head-high tackle, rules the referee. Oh, possibly the only one that saw it then was Tom Grant. Featherstone, pressure relieving penalty. Talapapa goes down in the tackle from Grady and Brandon Moore. Ormondroyd will run it forward, but there's a wall of defence to stop him just inside the Halifax half of the field. Carlisle gets the ball away. Wielden comes up with the error, but the ball jolted from him. Tangata gets up and walks away. Well, it's Ormondroyd who's got flattened. Adam Tangata absolutely clattered him. That must be a penalty. Referee stopping the clock, stopping it I think for the injury on this side of the field to Ormondroyd, but that looked perilously close to what should have been a penalty for Halifax. Chester Butler appeared to be lifted over the horizontal. The referee is deciding to hand out some words of wisdom, this time to Keil Carlisle of Featherstone. Carlisle started his career with Sheffield. Along with Luke Briscoe, has played in all of Featherstone's 21 games this season. The referee obviously didn't see anything wrong with the incident on the other side of the field. So Halifax will continue just inside the Featherstone half with Chester Butler. Morell at half back, gives it to Tangata, who gives it to Simon Griggs. And Hawk went down heavy on Griggs there. Well, he stopped the clock for something. So it was a knock on by Griggs, but Gareth Hawk, well, I would have said that was a flop, as Hardman and Morell are pulled together by the referee Tom Grant again. And there are words being spoken. Will Sharp is being pulled away by Adam Tangata. Well, he's having words with somebody in the Featherstone side. Is Will Sharp, a former Rovers player, of course. Jack Ormondroyd being brought from the field and is going to have to go all the way back over because he can't come off at a scrum break. No Martin Ridyard and Richard Moore for Featherstone this afternoon. I think Ridyard's out for the season. Well, after all the comings and goings, Featherstone have been given the ball at the scrum. Will Sharp still complaining as the scrum is played, and Briscoe carries it up into contact. Well, I'm not sure who it is. It's Carlisle, I think. Wielden. Carlisle didn't look as though he had a number on, but he has. He's there with the ball now. Gets it to Thackeray. Thackeray unloads. Featherstone looking at a late surge midway through the second half. First real test of this Halifax line. Wielden is clattered by the Halifax defence. Referee signals the last tackle. Thackeray to Wilder, gets it away. Talapapa tries offloading. Halifax have lost the ball, but they get 6 more tackles to Featherstone. Hopefully Thackeray won't have seen it and may waste it, but he doesn't. He gives it to Cooper, and Cooper almost out of the tackle. It's back to 0 for Featherstone. Thackeray gets the ball away. Was it forward? Not so, say the officials. Halifax supporters thought it was. Woodburn Hall couldn't make the tackle, and Featherstone have hit back. Taken them 20 minutes in the second half to do so. And it's Josh Hardcastle who's put Featherstone into double figures and back within 10 points of Halifax. Well, I think going back to Hardcastle could have put Featherstone back on the comeback trail. He cuts the lead to 10 points. Hardman, with a fairly simple kick, is going to cut that lead down to 8. Although it must be said, the pass did look forward. And the midway break again, as the water carriers and the medical staff come on. There'll be a lot of conversation about whether the pass was forward or not, but going back to the previous set from Halifax, where the scrum was given to Featherstone after a knock-on from Griggs, there was a tackle just prior to that which looked as though Chester Butler had been lifted above the horizontal and maybe should have been a Halifax penalty. So Scott Morrell ready to restart again after the water break. Morrell's kick is long, and Hardman well juggled with it, managed to make it secure. And Halifax will charge up, make the tackle on the 10-metre line, so work to be done now for Halifax. Talapapa charges it forward, good tackle from Fairbank. Briscoe takes it forward and manages to keep hold of it, looking for a penalty again. Seems to every time he goes down, does Briscoe. Robinson, 8 metres from halfway. Featherstone advancing forward. Thackeray gets it away to Walton. Sharps in off the wing. Can't get Walton, but his teammates can put him down on halfway, the last tackle. Go back to Thackeray for the kick. Thackeray put under pressure. Good kick, good chase, but Tyra there to save it for Halifax. Cooper looking as though he's gone in dangerously there with the knees first. Saltonstall not going to go very far forward as the Featherstone defence move in. And again they come forward. And Will Sharp took one round the head there. Well, he's getting very frustrated now, is Will Sharp. I'm not surprised after that last tackle. Hock has a few words on the way back. Brandon Moore tries to get the handoff on Josh Hardcastle as he takes it over the 40-metre line on the last tackle. They'll go to Morrell, who'll kick off back on the inside. Johnson could be there first and is. Can he get the pass away? It's still the last tackle. Kieran Moss was just behind Ben Johnson. Unfortunately turned around the wrong way and was unable to get the pass to the supporting fullback, which would have put him away. It was less than 17 minutes ago. Halifax 22, Featherstone 14. Halifax have come up with the ball. Griggs has dropped it to the floor, but Halifax still have 6 tackles. Morrell, acres of space on this side of the field. Tangata goes forward. Now Featherstone pull across to this near side in defence, but Halifax with Ben K2, Fairbank running into 2 defenders, no way through under the post. Back to testing that left hand defence again. Morrell steps out of the tackle, gets it to Tangata, who's pointed forward and then loses the ball. Unfortunate for Halifax, it's not picked up by Robinson or Briscoe. Halifax allowed to get back. Hardman, Talapapa, ball goes loose. Johnson gets the toe to it. Yes, Tyra, can they get to it? Davies has lost it. Ball's gone over the line. Tyra's touched it down. Is it going to be given as a try? I don't think the touch judge is going to give that. But Halifax fans are cheering. I don't think even the touch judge knows what went on. No try, but surely a knock on against Featherstone. Halifax will get to continue putting pressure on this Featherstone line. Clock stopped again. A massive scrum in the context of this game. Fed by Johnson, off the back by Kay to Morrell. Kieran Moss trying to dance round the outside, but Featherstone defence not being fooled by the run of Moss. Tangata to Griggs, and Griggs took a high one. That's going to be a penalty. It should be a 10-point lead and ball back from the kick-off for Halifax. Got to go for the points in front of the post there. Gareth Hock losing his cool. Well, surely Halifax are not going to spurn the opportunity. Well, they are, because they're going to try and go for the killer punch. If they get 6 points and get that 14-point lead back with 14 minutes to go. Brandon Moore stopped by Davies. Hawk thereabouts again. Ben Kay to Shane Grady. Defence in attendance for Featherstone. Wildy's not letting go of Grady. Referee letting him carry on. Ben Kay tries to go under the defence. Can he get the ball down? Yes, he's got the ball down. There's no contest from the touchers this time. Super strength from Ben Kay against his former club. Well, the touchers can't contest that because it was on that side where the ball went down. He was probably the only official that could see it clearly and gave the nod to the referee, who had no hesitation in pointing to the spot for Ben Kay. And it looks like Wildy will be leaving the field after speaking out of turn. So Featherstone down to 12 men again. Halifax won't care. Ben Kay has forced his way over for his 4th try of the season, with an immense surge of power, with 3 defenders around him. Looked as though they'd held him up at first, but managed to spin round, get the ball down, and restored a 12-point lead for Halifax. And Steve Tyra, well, he spends a lot of time practicing prior to kick-off from this side of the field. Well, they missed a couple earlier, but these are the ones that count. And as Adam Tangata leaves the field, Steve Tyra puts over another 2 and celebrates with the Halifax supporters in the East Stand. And could Halifax be on the way to breaking that 10-year hoodoo since they last beat Featherstone at the Shea? It's a short kick-off. Woodburn Hall underneath it, and Woodburn Hall almost try to take advantage of it, but not getting too far. Halifax have possession, and they'll be happy where they are, because it means they won't have to run the ball out from 10 metres away from their own line, as they're already at the 40 on the second tackle. And when you look across at this side of the field again, Saltonstall's gone inside, but Featherstone are light on this right-hand defence. Brandon Moore takes it into contact. Big tackle by Featherstone. Luke Cooper and John Davis. Ben Kay away from acting out. Fairbank into the gap, has support from Moss, and Moss just puts the ball down. Well, that would have been game, set and match for Halifax, surely. Another yellow card, this time for Jacob Fairbank. Well, he stormed through that gap. Couldn't get the ball away for Kieran Moss. And that would surely have been a big step towards Halifax winning this game. Although they're 14 points in front and Featherstone need 3 scores. That might have just taken the wind out of the sails of this Featherstone side. Halifax still in control at the moment, without possession at the moment, and both sides down to 12 men again. John Davis looks like a blood bin for Davis. Featherstone will bring Sam Brooks back on. So it's 10 minutes to assess the HIA for Davis. Walton running diagonally. Gareth Hawk charges it forward. Keeps hold of it, takes 3 men to put him down. Big strong lad is Hawk. Ball taken by Sam Brooks. Look to be dipping, look to be forward. Keil Carlisle gets it away to Talapapa. He's tackled by Johnson. Carlisle to Thackeray. Thackeray gets the pass away, and Hardcastle is given a little bit of space, and he can exploit it, can Hardcastle. Got the pace and the speed, but Halifax on their own try line. Brooks gets it away. Saltonstall out quickly for the intercept. Well, he's done that all season. He's come inside to take the defence out, this time inside to take the ball out. Tyra spins away from 2 and almost gets away. Good job the defence came across there with Talapapa. Well, if you put this into slow motion and just look how far offside the Featherstone are walking, I suppose it's let it go for both sides. And Gareth Hawk, well, Gareth Hawk and Will Sharp have obviously come together and are now getting a little bit frustrated, particularly Gareth Hawk. Last tackle, and Barber takes it over halfway. Johnson down the touch line again. Great kick from Johnson. Puts the ball into touch, pushes Featherstone back to their own 10. To the scrum. Referee has stopped the clock without the scrum being formed. We normally wait until the players stop the clock because his headgear, his communication equipment seems to be failing, I think. Halifax faithful are in full voice at the back of the left-hand uprights in the south stand, and Halifax are backing down for another scrum on the Featherstone 10 metre line with just 1 second less than 10 minutes to go. And Walton it is, takes the first charge again. Halifax trying to push him back in the tackle. Hardcastle up from the play of the ball, making 10 metres. Featherstone 14 points behind, with Briscoe giving the offload to Robinson, and Robinson brought to Featherstone by John Duffy from Swinton. is a live wire, but Halifax alert to him. Sam Brooks is going to go on his own, and Sam Brooks, also of Halifax, of course, signed from Widnes. Thackeray gets his pass away to Hardman. Hardman gets the pass away, but the Halifax defence there. Last tackle, 5 metres inside the Halifax 40. Hawk gets the pass away. Thackeray, numbers on this side as Cooper tries to get it away. Well, playing football, Talapapa needs to be caught with it. Put the ball down, and Johnson, well, Johnson tried to step, but stepped straight into Thackeray. Salt and Salt. Well, Cooper was waiting for him then when he got the ball. He was that far forward. Halifax will be happy just to retain possession. Will Sharp and Hawk again. Hawk retaliating. The penalty had already been given, but perhaps this time there won't be as much going on. Gareth Hawk fancies his chances with Ed Barber now. Well, I'm not. They were never teammates at Featherstone, I don't think, were Hawk and Sharp, because Hawk has only joined them this season. It doesn't take much to bring the worst out of Gareth Hawk. Will Sharp walked away knowing that Halifax should have the penalty. Well, they've had 3 in each half of Halifax. Featherstone have had 5 in the first half, 1 in the second, so the counts level on the penalties. And again, the referee Tom Grant calling on the sideline officials to come and assist him in what went on. We've got more men going to the sin bin. Gareth Hawk being called out, and Hawk is yellow carded. So Gareth Hawk becomes the 5th yellow card of this game. So Featherstone are down to 11. Well, there's always a chance, and 6th yellow card with Will Sharp. Well, I'm not sure what Will Sharp did. Massive ovation for Will Sharp. 2 tries in the first half. Well, is he going to keep his decision the same? It's a Halifax penalty, which he blew for. Can't really see anything that happened that would overturn that. Ian Hardman obviously had something to say on the way back, to which Scott Morrell reacted, but out of earshot of the referee Tom Grant. Morrell puts the ball into touch, another big kick. Halifax begin the next attack on the Featherstone 40 with 7.5 minutes remaining, 28 points to 14 in the lead. And I suppose for Halifax it's all about retaining possession for as much of those 7.5 minutes as possible. Simon Griggs disappears under 3. And looks a bit weary when he got to his feet there, Simon Griggs. Maybe as a result of the 3 tacklers that put him down, I'm not sure. Might even be fatigued now at this stage of the game. Johnson to Grady. Grady trying to go through between Brooks and it's Hardcastle, who's got no number on now. Ed Barber, dropping the shoulder, almost finding a way through. Keil Carlisle managed to hold him down. Should have been a penalty. Johnson goes on his own. Tyra went on the inside. Sam Brooks makes the tackle. Last one. Are we going to see a drop goal attempt from Morel? No, we're not. We're going to see another effort from Ben Kay, but too far away from the try line that time. But finishing the set in a pretty good position, 7 metres out from the Featherstone line. Hardman gets to the 10 metre line. Marr and Grady waiting for him. Well, it's a knock on. Got to be a knock on, because Hardman put the ball down, tried to play it quickly, never got his foot to it. He's never in a position to be able to play the ball. Well, will it be a yellow card for Ian Hardman for back chatting? He's still going at it. He's the Featherstone captain. Well, Richard Marshall has possibly masterminded a massive win after a 10-year gap, September 2009. And Featherstone supporters have seen enough already. They're on the way to the exits. There won't be a Halifax supporter leaving this ground until the final hooter blows. Well, they've obviously no faith in the side with over 5 minutes left. The gap's 14 points. Halifax have possession. Well, we will get a scrum eventually. Johnson feeds. Saltonstall inside, looking across for Kieran Moss. Might be opportunities on that far side. Moss drops the shoulder. Had Woodburn all outside him, but Woodburn all running towards the touchline. Saltonstall and a spin out of the tackles, and turns his back on the Featherstone defence, but down 5 metres away. Again, Halifax looking to just keep the possession as Griggs gets it away to Johnson. Tyra called for the kick across field, because once again Featherstone are light on this side. Briscoe calling numbers across now, and Halifax have gone the other way. Morel goes for the chip through, but Kieran Moss is going to get there first, and that will be game, set and match for Halifax. Morel looked to be shaping for a drop goal, but just teased it through off the end of the foot, and Kieran Moss reacting, charging after the ball and managing. Well, it was only the slightest of touches, but it was enough to be confirmed as a try for Halifax, which takes them over 30 points. That's 5 tries in 4 games now for Kieran Moss. 5 tries in 4 games, and he probably deserves it. He's run at the defence several times this afternoon, found it tough to get through these big Featherstone forwards, but didn't find it tough that time. The ball put in the in-goal area on a plate for him, and Moss scorching into touchdown. And a massive win for Featherstone takes them up to joint second in the championship before the visit to London Broncos next week. That's the only away game between now and the end of the season. They face Toulouse at home and Rochdale at home in the final game of the season. Tyra converts again, but they'll breathe a little easier this evening after what has turned into a convincing victory over the Featherstone Rovers, who have looked second best after that opening first 10 or 15 minutes when they pressured the Halifax line, came away with nothing. Woodburn Hall comes up with it from the kick-off again. Well, I think if you're going to pick a man of the match, it might be a collective effort this afternoon where everybody gets the man of the match. Ed Barber tackled 3 metres from halfway. Fleming wrestling away from the first tackle. Scott Morel being named man of the match. Will Marr putting the Rovers defence to work again. Last tackle, looking for Ben Johnson, probably down the touchline again. Well, Morell's trying to drop goal this time. That's not going to get anywhere near. Hardman takes it on his own line. Morell's chasing Woodburn Halls there as well. He's giving it inside to Robinson, who pushes away from Moss. Moss gets him at the second time of asking. Well, Kieran Moss playing as a full-back up into the line there, and happened as well he was to stop Robinson. Moss in with a tackle again, but Briscoe just for being held on too long, and Featherstone looking for a last say in the game with 1 minute and 9 seconds gone. There'll be a lot of celebrating went on yesterday after England winning the quarter-finals of the World Cup. There'll be a lot going on this evening, because Halifax may have just put themselves in a glorious position of finishing the top 4 again. Long ball out wide to Robinson. Halifax are not really bothered as Robinson goes over for a token effort late in the game. When you consider that Halifax had only conceded 2 tries up to that point. Sure, Robinson would have liked to have performed something a little bit more heroic, but in the end it was a walk-in for the winger. And if there's time for a restart after Hardman's conversion, it'll be as much as there is, with the clock ticking down at 12 seconds. Halifax 34, Featherstone 18. Hardman's a good kick off the touchline from Ian Hardman. Takes Featherstone for 20, but Halifax celebrating as one around the ground with has to be said, a memorable win over Featherstone. First one at the Shea for 10 years.